this is Anson. This is to Chris, Tom, Lori, and Karen. If this makes its rounds to anybody else, it's for anybody that wants to understand or get a quick look at Active Directory and LDAP. We talk a lot about that as engineers, and I wanted to describe to you exactly what's going on and what we mean, so you guys can understand this stuff and then to make informed decisions on the product. Okay, so real quick, I'm going to go through this. I'm going to give you a couple of scenarios, and I'm not going to give you all the scenarios with all this Active Directory LDAP integration, but it'll give you enough to completely understand what's going on. So first, let's go through the type of integration. We throw this ADILDAP word around a lot. There are basically three things you have to understand. There's things going on when it comes to UCCaaS, or prem-based, doesn't matter, but when we talk CM, CUCX, CUPS, there's three things going on when we do Active Directory integration. Active Directory user provision. This is the one you hear us talk about a lot, right? And this is probably the one that you guys understand the most. Active Directory user provisioning. This is a one-way sync process that basically sucks the customer, goes to the Active Directory system, sucks all those users into the UC applications. Now, different UC applications handle this differently. In .0, and it's going to be uniform, and I'll explain that in just a second. But for now, Active User Provisioning, provisioning, or Active Directory integration, talking about there is connecting to the customer's Active Directory, pulling those user accounts in, and that's it when we talk about that. Let me just do that real quick. It looks like inside Communication Manager. So let's see here. Here we go. If we go to System, we go to LDAP. We can go to the LDAP directory, and I can see what directories I'm connected to. It's an LDAP, but before you do this, it's a directory integration is what you choose. But here's some credentials. I have to be able to log in to the Active Directory. I'm using the LDAP protocol. That's why we kind of use those interchangeably. Active Directory is LDAP compliant. In other words, you can collect it and query it and things like that with normal LDAP protocols and procedures. So that's why those things are kind of used interchangeably, or those two words. So log in, and then I got a sync. I have a periodic sync here. This is a one-way sync. In other words, we're pulling from the customer's Active Directory LDAP into Communication Manager. I'm looking at Communication Manager here, and I have some things are here that these are the actual fields that are coming across from Active Directory. User ID is actually the SAM account inside Active Directory. Middle name is middle name. Manager ID is manager, telephone number, and so on and so forth. All right, my LDAP directory server, or my Active Directory server, which I'm pointing to. I'm using the LDAP protocol, and then I use SSL. Obviously, we would be using SSL. I'm not here in my lab for lab purposes. And I can perform as a full sync now, so on and so forth. So this is how it's set up. Okay, secondly, this one, authentication. So just because you got all the users over, we have to do authentication to our Active Directory server. So authentication locally if we want. But typically, if we're going to put in all the users, we might as well use that Active Directory system that the customer has to also provide authentication. Right? So What that mean? That just means that when someone logs in to Call Manager or Unity or CUPS, any logins that take username and password, some happen on the phone with IPMA, Extension Mobility, CUCC client, cookie mock, things like that, inbox for Unity. When those things happen, that authentication over to the customer's LDAP server or Active Directory server, whatever you want to call that. All right. Okay. So we have the users that we can pull in. When we pull in, we don't pull in other than some, as we saw before, the account name, middle name, number, stuff like that. And then now we're saying also as users log in, go authenticate with the Active Directory server. Okay, now the third thing we're going to do is LDAP searches. So, I mean, if we were providing the right naming conventions, we would probably say, Active Directory on these two and then LDAP on this last one. It's not exactly true, but that's a good way to kind of frame it up. So LDAP searches. LDAP searches are any time we're going to search in a directory. We push a directory button on the phone. We're going to search for a directory name inside CUPC. Like that are going to provide this particular capability. All right, so let's just take a look. Just take a look at this here. I want to show you the second one. Where am I here? Okay, look at the LDAP integration, right, for users, and then we looked at the LDAP authentication. So remember, I got this turned on too. I'm doing both of them here, and then I have to give it credentials. Here's how to communicate with the Active Directory server and pass authentication from users over to this server. Okay, fair enough. And then the third one's really more of a client thing. So there's no under LDAP. We're not going to do what users are going to use when they push the directory button on their phone. How it's going to happen. That's more of on the phone. We do that with device pools and regions and all this stuff. We kind of show you that, but that's easier to understand what's going on. Okay. Again, these now then provide single sign-on into the customer's Active Directory, right? So every same password they're used to as when they sign into their sense user management, security, right? We're not storing any credentials inside UCCaaS now because all those are kept in the customer realm, so to speak. And we also get the benefit of adherence to customer security password policy because in the Active Directory they already have their, you can only use a password for 9 days. You can't use the last 3 passwords you've used. Password complexity should be 1 capital letter, 8 other characters, and then 2 numeric characters. So those kind of things we're kind of just gluing ourselves into, and so getting their own the policy really to be glued into UCCaaS if they so choose to do Active Directory integration, which I do because, as I'm going to show in a minute, there's a lot of things dependent on it, and it works a lot better. And then also we got a central directory for work numbers, mobile numbers, and all that stuff. So everything like the LDAP searches and things like that, since numbers, their mobile number and their directory number and things like that are stored in LDAP, it's located, and all my click to dial and things like that will work seamlessly. For example, just like us, we most companies have some kind of front end to their LDAP, to their Active Directory. If you just, for example, as I said, you have a portal, you can go update your number, right, and your mobile number on our VZ internal portal, Easy Web or whatever it's called these days. But what just a front end to our Active Directory that's in the background. So all big enterprises have something like that. They have some portal, self-service portal, where their users, their employees can go in and change their mobile number or whatever. It's really changing in an Active Directory in the back end. So if you think about our customers and how they're using it, same. Everyone uses this stuff pretty the same way. When they update their numbers via their portal, right? Click to dial, inside CUPC and stuff. When they want to dial a user's mobile number, it's going to be the right number. So that's why that's kind of important there. Go on. I broke out what each of the applications do. I think it's best served if I give you a couple of examples. Let me see if there's anything I want to point out here. Oh, I did want to point out that it provides audit user deletes. Right? Anything Active Directory integrated, call manager, CUPS, connection, just like us, right? With some kind of HR policy, if somebody gets laid off, if I lay off Joe, or she's terminated and for some reason, there's some procedure in HR to go delete her from the directory. That's a number, because that's our centralized directory. When we delete her from the directory, if we're buying Verizon UCCaaS service in Active Directory integrated, as soon as she got deleted from the directory, it was going to be deleted inside UCCaaS. She would be deleted inside UCCaaS on applications. Okay, I'm not talking VOSS or SEL or anything like that, because I don't know what went on over there, but I'm saying when we're Active Directory integrated with the applications, that user is going to disappear and won't be able to log in to Manager or Unity or CUPS, their CUPC client or things like that. So that's an important thing to remember. And it's a great benefit to a customer to be able to do that. And sometimes is a security policy that this must happen. If we don't provide this, if they don't go Active Directory integrated, then they're going to have to provide, they're going to have some policy that when they, that's going to add burden to them if they delete someone or let someone go, they're going to have to manually somehow go into SAL, Communication Manager, or whatever it may be. I won't go through all this. This is good to know, but if you guys want to know anything further, especially about this 9.0, contact me and I'll go through it further. So let's look at how this, go through what this looks like and how it acts like. Here's separation of VOSS and customer ADILDAP. Chris, Tom, this is the thing I was talking about. I was supposed to give you last week, and setting I didn't. I apologize. I got a little bit bogged down a few weeks, but I wanted to ensure that you understood what I was talking about in this separation. Now, Ron, I think even us, Tier 2, we're kind of advocating, hey, why doesn't VOSS support an Active Directory integration? And in mind, early on, a year ago, I was complaining and saying I wanted this VOSS to talk to customers' data center over here and make their Active Directory integrated. We were visioning the users over here, right? So we were sucking in the users over here and then pushing down into here, something like that. I wasn't sure how this was going to happen, but I just made the assumption that that's what I was telling you we wanted. I assessed that, and obviously, if you guys aren't aware, that's probably a bad thing, right? Because we have this shared service provisioning space, right? This is where VOSS lives. The customer UCCaaS space is right in here, and then the customer data center space is in here, and then the customer user space is over here. Obviously, we don't want anything have to do with usernames, passwords, anything like that over to this shared spacing. That's the value that we add with UCCaaS, right? If we do Active Directory integration, it's your IP space. These are your applications. These applications are only touching your IP space. We're not touching them at all. All right. That's why I agree with this whole names over here and all this SAL stuff. I haven't got my head completely wrapped in that yet. And I need to frame this up, and we make sure that we in between these two things. Provisioning and things like that, I can understand that we're not going to get away from that or anything like that, but it's important to note that we can do anything. We already have enough security problems with this guy over here and being exposed to the internet and all that other mess. We cannot make anything go in between here as far as that would raise an eyebrow to the security folks inside one of our customers' enterprises. Anyway, okay, so we want to keep that separated. Now, does this work? Today, the customer Active Directory, right here, which is it's Active Directory. Also, I'm going to put here LDAP compliant. You can use the LDAP protocol to communicate with it. Basically, what I'm saying there. The way to set this up, there's a one-way synchronization. So here's our call manager, Unity Connection, and CUPS. When we talk about LDAP integration or Active Directory integration, we're talking about just connecting up to this customer Active Directory and then using the LDAP protocol and providing this one-way sync to sync in the usernames over here. All right, I explained that before. Those two, and call manager and Unity work much the same way in this one-way sync. Is actually much further ahead in the way that you can support more domains inside Active Directory Active Directory or architecture and things like that. And I can explain that further if you guys are just give me a call and I'll explain that further. But okay, next. So let's look at a user logon, how that happens when we're logging into, and I just picked on CUPC for one. So a CUPC user over here in the customer user space logs in. So the user login comes this way, username and password. Okay, now this is encrypted. That comes across over here to call manager, and then this is then proxied. Those credentials are then proxied against the customer Active Directory. He doesn't have a password. He just proxies that over to the customer Active Directory. And Active Directory then has his password, and it does a challenge, and then that user passes or fails the authentication. Okay, so then he's able to log in to CUPC, and CUPC comes up. All right, same thing happens for Communication Manager. If you're going into the Communication Manager user pages, that's this one here. Then if you log into the Cisco Unity Connection user pages, where you can do web box and interact with your voicemail via web. Same thing happens if you log into the CUPS user portal to send broadcast to all your lists that you have in your CUPS client, or set privacy. You know, don't want these people to see if I'm online or offline. You know, all those kind of things are in the CUPS user portal web interface. Some of which you can't do in the CUPC client. Why I did that, I don't know. The only thing I can is the CUPC client is just not as mature, definitely not as mature as like Link or something like that. So there's still some things that you can't do in the client over here that you need web access, and you manipulate some settings in your web portal, privacy settings and sending broadcasts and things like that. There's a couple of other items in there. Anyway, that's the way this thing works. So we try to log in over here, and then we proxy everything to the customer Active Directory. And credentials are stored over here before. Okay, next page here. Okay, CUPC using LDAP. Okay, here is where we're going to look at. We already talked about the user. We talked about authentication. Now, remember the third one was LDAP lookup or directory. So here's a customer or user, UCCaaS, log into CUPC client, and he's going to look up Chris Kammerer because he wants to chat with Chris, and it's not Chris is in his buddy list. It's to search in the directory. When you search inside of CUPC client, the only searchable thing that you can do today is search Active Directory, search LDAP. That's the only thing you can search. Okay, search inside Call Manager or the CUP server or anything like that. Even if we were doing, even if we weren't Active Directory integrated and we had all our users over here and it's completely separated from the customer, still the only thing that CUPC can search is the LDAP over here. All right. So when we search for someone in the LDAP directory, searching for is their SIP URI. All right. So now, since we're centrally managed here in this Active Directory integration, we're getting all the we're going to SIP URI, we're going to get the URI, we're going to get the remember directory where the user's number is, mobile number, email address, all those things exist in the live Active Directory, LDAP server, LDAP directory, whatever you want to call it, directory. Okay, so these things work, click to dial, and all this other stuff. And then similarly, I threw a phone over here just to show you that if I click the directory button on the phone, that's where I'm going to look up LDAP. I'm going to do an LDAP search, and same apply there. Of course, when I'm looking up over here, I'm looking for is directory number or mobile number. When over here, and I put a buddy inside my buddy list, pulling over, my URI, directory numbers, and email address. Because inside CUPC, I can, I can communicate. I can click to chat. I can click to call. I can click to send email, and what have you. All right, look at the next one. Out presence using LDAP. What I wanted to discuss here was, this gets to the importance of doing integration. Okay. When we do Active Directory integration, we're ensuring that there's one customer directory, the SIP URI, the email address, username, all that stuff is kept in a centralized directory, and it's correct. I don't update it several places, right? So when I'm inside Outlook, for instance, and I'm integrating with the customer's Exchange environment, inside CUPS, which I do very easily. But when I'm inside the Exchange environment, I want to be able to hover over buddy and it's online, or right mouse click to chat inside. Let me show you what that looks like. So it's important we do this because it enables things like, let's go over here to, you can see right here, Jack Sparrow. Okay, Elizabeth Swan here. I'm on Elizabeth Swan's PC, and Elizabeth Swan is logged into her CUPC client. And look in Outlook, I see that Jack Sparrow he's away, so I can see those indicators, either jelly bean or yellow jelly bean or whatever, so I can understand if that person is available for chat or calling or anything like that inside my Microsoft applications. That extends out to SharePoint also. So you see here, I can hover over and then I can send an email. I can chat. Like if I chat, it's going to bring up my CUPC chat. If I call, it's either going to use my phone or my CUPC client. I have checked to use my desk phone. So again, I can, let me just show you how this works. I tap there and you see I get a chat window that comes up, and then I can start, chat away. Sparrow, he'll get that message. There it is, right there. It's important that we Active Directory integrate. We can extend these services very easily over into the Microsoft environment. So it's important to that, and that's when I'm talking about, it's important to Active Directory integrate if we're going to do presence. Additionally, if we're going to federate or anything like that with outside businesses, you do. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have to Active Directory integrate, because if not, you're just going to run into problems. Period. It's a best practice. Look all over the SRNDs, for CUPs and presence and federation. May vary if you don't do it, but basically Cisco's word on that. I don't care what VOSS says or what Cisco's telling you guys. This is going to be an absolute must. If we're going to buy CUPs, better position. It's my that we better position Active integration. And if someone wants to prove me wrong, and someone's telling you something different, let's debate. Let's get them on the phone. I'll show it works, and we'll see who comes out right. Prove me wrong is what I'm saying. Prove me wrong, and I'll be more than happy to step away from that stance. But Cisco's own documentation takes that stance, and from what I set up in the lab, and I pretty much know how all this works, and we can get into a deep dive. If you guys want all this interconnects, but if you don't have Active Directory integration, don't expect all stuff to work with Microsoft and all logic to the customer to say, hey, look, we integrate. We'll show the green jelly bean inside your Outlook or in SharePoint. We can integrate with your CRM applications and all that stuff per presence. It's not going to work. It's not. There's too many databases to keep synced up, and they're going to be manual. You need a central database, period. All right, how that works. You got to understand that part. Now, the next one I was going to say was, okay, another thing that's reliant on this centralized directory is if I get an email, a voicemail, remember we can Active Directory integrate. I have my system here completely what would the Cisco call single inbox. So I'm the true unified messaging. So here, true unified messaging can send a message, whether it be a voicemail. So here's my voicemail. I can create a new voicemail or receive a voicemail from C, and I can respond to it either with a voicemail or with text. The thing is, since I'm using a centralized database, all my SIP URIs are the same, and also all my email addresses are the same, and they're all centralized. So it's going to go a route correct way. It's going to go in my inbox. The trouble with not doing all this centrally is you could get into a situation where your Unity box also pulls in the user's email address. So it knows how to route things. If we're not doing this, again, you could run into trouble because you're not. You could come in here and he got a voicemail from somebody, and he double clicks the voicemail, listens. Listen. Let's see. Do I have a voicemail here? I don't have a voicemail here, but you could come and listen to the voicemail, and then when you do anything with email, right? The first thing you do is, I want to reply. So if I had this, this was a voicemail. It's not, and I can give a demo later on if you want to see how this works. But click reply. So it'd be a voicemail or an email. from Jeff Sparrow, I'm going to reply, and it's going to, I can send back a voicemail or email. It's still going to show up in his inbox. All right, so that's important to note also. So the length of this talk, I was hoping to make it shorter, but that's it, and I'll let you guys go.